Commander Elena Reyes stood ramrod straight on the White House lawn as the alien shuttle descended. Its hull shimmered with iridescent patterns that seemed to bend light itself, making Earth's most advanced aircraft look like children's toys by comparison. The global population watched through screens as humanity faced its first contact with intelligent extraterrestrial life. The ship settled silently on the grass, not even disturbing the nearby flags that fluttered in the spring breeze. President Chen stood beside Elena, his knuckles white with tension. "Remember," he whispered, "project strength, but remain diplomatic." Elena nodded almost imperceptibly. As Earth's highest-ranking military strategist and head of United Nations Defense, she had been selected to represent humanity's protective capabilities. 20 years of combat experience had trained her to read opponents, and she was determined to understand these visitors. The shuttle's door dissolved rather than opened, revealing Ambassador Krell and his entourage. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, with blue-tinted skin that reflected light like polished marble. His 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, scanned the assembled humans with unmistakable assessment. "Greetings from the Galactic Assembly." Krell's voice emerged through a translator device at his throat. "We have been observing your civilization for some time." The formal introductions proceeded according to protocol until Krell approached Elena. He studied her uniform, decorations, and a ceremonial sidearm at her hip. Something like amusement flickered across his features. "And this must be your protector?" he asked the president. Before Chen could correct him, Krell reached out and patted Elena on the head, his long fingers disturbing her carefully arranged hair. Such spirited little creatures. The alien entourage chittered with synchronized laughter. Elena felt heat rise in her cheeks, but maintained her composure, even as cameras captured the humiliating moment. "Commander Reyes leads our global defense forces," President Chen explained stiffly. "How charming," Krell responded, already turning away. "We remember when our species played at warfare. You'll outgrow it, naturally." The demonstration that followed only deepened Elena's unease. The aliens casually manipulated gravity, showed faster-than-light communication technology, and displayed holograms so realistic they seemed solid, all while speaking to the human delegation as one might address precocious children. "Your species has such potential," a female alien told Elena during the reception, examining a display about Earth's space program. "In just a few centuries, you might qualify for provisional assembly membership." Later, when Elena mentioned Earth's defensive capabilities, hoping to establish some professional respect, Ambassador Krell exchanged glances with his security chief before they both burst into harmonized laughter. "Your most powerful weapons wouldn't dent our shuttle's atmospheric shields," Krell explained between chuckles. "But don't worry, the assembly protects developing species like yours. Though I should warn you, not all galactic powers are as benevolent as we are." That night, alone in her office beneath the Pentagon, Elena stared at the classified photos of the alien ships. Their power was undeniable, but something about their uniformity troubled her tactical mind. Every ship, every weapon, every shield, all variations on a single technological approach. With determined fingers, she entered an authorization code known to only 5 humans alive and connected to a secure line. "This is Commander Reyes," she said to the figure that appeared on her screen. "Prepare Protocol Antiquity. Authorization Sierra Echo Victor 89. And wake the teams at Antarctica Station. I'm coming down to inspect the vaults personally." She ended the transmission and gazed at the alien fleet glittering in Earth's orbit. Let them laugh. They knew nothing about humanity's oldest insurance policy against extinction, or what truly made humans dangerous. 6 months into Earth's integration with the Galactic Assembly, Commander Elena Reyes had mastered the art of the diplomatic smile. Behind that smile lurked calculations, observations, and a growing sense of purpose. The Assembly's central chamber stretched nearly a kilometre across, with delegates from 17 species occupying ornate stations arranged in concentric rings of importance. Elena sat at a tiny desk in the outermost ring, labelled Developing Species Observation Area, alongside representatives from 2 other newly discovered civilizations. The furniture was uncomfortably proportioned for human anatomy, a subtle reminder of their outsider status. Today's emergency session concerned the Drakkar, an aggressive species expanding rapidly along the Assembly's outer territories. The central holographic display showed crimson markers advancing through 3 star systems, while Assembly defense forces retreated in disarray. Their phase shield technology has evolved again, announced Defense Minister Vriz, a mantis-like being whose chitinous exoskeleton clicked nervously as he manipulated the display. Our standard countermeasures prove increasingly ineffective. Elena studied the tactical display, recognizing a classic flanking maneuver. She pressed the illuminated panel requesting speaking permission, watching it blink for 20 minutes before Ambassador Krell finally acknowledged her. "The human observer wishes to contribute," Krell announced with barely disguised amusement. "Let us hear Earth's perspective." Elena stood, projecting her voice with military precision. "The Drakkar fleet is splitting its forces predictably. If you reinforce these 2 junction points," she highlighted positions on the display, "you could isolate their advance guard from reinforcements." Silence fell across the chamber before Krell responded with exaggerated patience. "Commander Reyes, the Drakkar use quantum entanglement for communication. Their fleet coordination cannot be disrupted by physical separation." "I wasn't suggesting disrupting communications," Elena replied. "I'm suggesting destroying half their fleet while it's vulnerable, then dealing with the remainder." Several delegates exchanged glances before laughter rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Krell's smile appeared genuinely sympathetic as he explained, "Perhaps stick to what you know best. Your species only recently discovered atomic energy, yes. These matters involve principles your scientists haven't yet conceptualized." The discussion moved on as if she hadn't spoken. Elena made detailed notes, studying the aliens' uniform approach to strategy. Always technological solutions, always the same defensive doctrines. Later, at the diplomatic reception, Elena endured more subtle humiliations. A group of Assembly military officials crowded around a display showing historical footage from Earth's military archives. They actually propel small metal projectiles using chemical explosions. One 4-armed delegate exclaimed incredulously, watching footage of a traditional firearms demonstration. "How charmingly primitive," another added. "Most species abandon such approaches once they discover particle weapons." Our historical archives suggest 70% of developing civilizations destroy themselves during this phase, commented a third with clinical detachment. "The human survival is statistically notable." Elena sipped her drink, some fluorescent concoction safe for human consumption, and activated her subcutaneous communicator with a subtle pressure against her wrist. "Director Zhang," she vocalized when the connection established, "how's the inventory proceeding?" "Vault 1 is fully operational," came the encrypted response. "Preservation systems functioning at optimal levels. Weapons dating back to the 20th century are in deployable condition. And the special projects from Vault 3. Ready for your inspection, Commander. The modifications to integrate with modern systems are complete." Elena watched the aliens laughing at footage of Earth's military history: tank battalions, aircraft carriers, missile systems, all dismissed as quaint relics of an unsophisticated species. "Prepare everything," she whispered, "and activate the production facilities beneath Denali. Authorization code: humanity first." She raised her glass in a toast when an alien diplomat nodded in her direction, her smile revealing nothing of the plans forming beneath Antarctica's ice and within mountain fortresses around the globe. Let them underestimate Earth a little longer. The Antarctic wind howled across the barren landscape as 3 transport craft descended toward what appeared to be an ordinary research station. Elena watched from the lead shuttle as General Vriz shifted uncomfortably in his environmental suit, his compound eyes reflecting the blinking control panels. "I still don't understand why your species built anything in this inhospitable region," the alien military attaché chittered. The assembly had finally assigned him as a liaison after increasing Drakkar incursions made Earth's strategic position more relevant. "That's precisely why we built here," Elena replied as they touched down. "No one looks too closely at Antarctica." Director Zhang met them at the airlock, her stern expression softening slightly at Elena's arrival. She eyed General Vriz with undisguised suspicion. "The ambassador insisted on sending an observer," Elena explained. "Given recent developments, I thought it appropriate to provide a limited tour." Zhang nodded curtly. "How limited?" "Vault 1 only," Elena replied. "For now." They descended in a high-speed elevator that displayed their depth on a digital readout: 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. Elena watched Vriz's mandibles twitch nervously as they passed the 3-kilometer mark. "This facility extends deeper than any known assembly excavation on a heavy-gravity world," he noted, professional interest overriding his usual condescension. The elevator slowed at 5 kilometers beneath the ice. When the doors opened, Elena enjoyed the moment of stunned silence as Vriz absorbed what lay before them. The underground complex stretched for miles in every direction, cavernous halls illuminated by overhead lighting grids. Organized in meticulous sections were weapons, thousands upon thousands of weapons from every era of human conflict. "What is this place?" Vriz whispered, his translator struggling to convey his emotional state. "Insurance policy," Elena replied simply, leading him forward. "Humanity's Preservation Initiative." They walked past glass cases containing pristine examples of medieval longbows beside Revolutionary War muskets. An entire section housed tanks from World War II, maintained in perfect working order. Fighter aircraft from every generation hung from ceiling mounts, fueled and ready for deployment. "You kept all your outdated weapons." Vriz's voice had lost its usual patronizing tone, replaced by something approaching respect or fear. "Not outdated," Elena corrected. "Just different approaches to the same problem. Humans never abandon useful tools." They passed through a security checkpoint where Zhang authorized deeper access. The next section contained missile systems, chemical agents in sealed containers, and biological countermeasures carefully preserved in stasis fields. "These were banned by your own treaties," Vriz noted, studying labels on sealed containers. "Banned from use, not from existence," Zhang clarified. "Knowledge preservation differs from deployment authorization." Elena pointed towards sealed vault doors extending further into the complex. "And those contain technologies we've officially never acknowledged creating." Vriz turned slowly, reassessing everything with his military mind. "Your technological development appears linear in public records. You progress from simple tools to more advanced ones, abandoning previous approaches." That's what we allowed researchers to document, Elena confirmed. The assembly believes we followed the standard development pattern because that's what we showed them. How many of these facilities exist? Vriz asked quietly. This is just one of 7, Zhang answered, each specializing in different preservation categories. Elena activated a nearby console, bringing up images of manufacturing facilities hidden beneath mountains and oceans. And we've maintained production capabilities for everything preserved here. Vriz's exoskeleton clicked as he processed this revelation. The assembly has drastically miscalculated humanity's capabilities. That was the point, Elena replied, directing his attention to a testing range where engineers maintained ancient projectile weapons alongside modern railguns. We've spent millennia fighting ourselves, General. That experience taught us to never discard any advantage, and to never reveal all your capabilities to potential adversaries. She met his compound eyes directly. Now, shall we discuss the Drakkar situation with greater honesty? The assembly emergency alert blared through the chamber, its pulsing tones designed to register urgency across all species' auditory ranges. Elena was halfway through her coffee when the diplomatic terminal in her quarters activated automatically. Commander Reyes, your presence is required immediately. Ambassador Krell's voice had lost its usual patronizing tone. The Drakkar have broken through at Proxima Colony. 30 minutes later, Elena stood before the assembly's central display, watching the massacre unfold in real time. Proxima Colony, the closest non-Earth human settlement, established under assembly protection, burned as Drakkar warships methodically destroyed its defenses. Their phase shields have evolved again, Defense Minister Vriz explained, his exoskeleton clicking rapidly in distress. They've developed the harmonic resonance that allows their weapons to penetrate our standard barriers as if they weren't there. The footage showed assembly defensive systems failing catastrophically. Energy shields designed to disperse attacks simply collapsed when hit with the Drakkar's modified weapons. 7 worlds had fallen in 3 days, while the assembly's unified defense force retreated in disarray. The Drakkar fleet is moving along these vectors, another officer indicated, showing projected paths that would reach Earth within weeks. Their pattern suggests methodical elimination of all assembly protectorates. Elena studied the tactical display, noting patterns in the Drakkar approach. They always attacked the same way, overwhelming force against predictable defensive systems. She glanced around the chamber, seeing the aliens' confident posturing crumble into panic. Ambassador Krell approached, his blue skin pale with stress. Commander Reyes, he began, his tone devoid of its usual condescension. Your species has always been so, focused on conflict. Do humans have any insights on fighting these monsters? The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to Elena. 6 months of dismissal and mockery dissolved in the face of the existential threat. She thought of the Antarctic vaults, of humanity's bloody history, of thousands of years spent perfecting the art of killing each other. Yes, Ambassador, she replied calmly. I believe we do. Elena activated her secure terminal, bypassing assembly communication protocols to connect directly with Director Zhang. Authorization to implement Operation Antiquity. Full deployment. She turned to the assembly representatives, who watched with new attention. The Drakkar have optimized their entire approach to defeat your standardized energy shields and quantum countermeasures. Their tactical doctrine assumes enemies will use similar technologies to theirs. Elena brought up her presentation display, showing schematics of human weapon systems spanning centuries of development. Ballistic projectiles, chemical propellants, mechanical triggering systems, analog targeting mechanisms, technologies the Assembly had abandoned millennia ago. "These are from your historical archives?" One delegate asked, confusion evident. "No," Elena replied. "These are from our active inventory." Murmurs spread through the chamber as understanding dawned. Elena continued, "The Drakkar expect to face energy weapons, phase shields, and quantum disruption. They've never encountered kinetic projectiles, chemical explosives, or radio frequency targeting systems." "Primitive technologies," Krell mused, the word lacking its former derision. "Different technologies," Elena corrected. "And sometimes different is exactly what you need." She displayed footage from Antarctic testing ranges, showing ancient tank shells tearing through captured pieces of Drakkar armor, material designed to disperse energy weapons, but helpless against physical impact. "Humanity proposes a joint operation," Elena stated formally. "We will provide weapons, tactical doctrine, and training. The Assembly will provide transportation and integration with existing defense forces." Defense Minister Vriz stepped forward, standing beside Elena in a symbolic gesture. "I have witnessed their capabilities firsthand. I support this proposal." Ambassador Krell looked at the burning remains of Proxima Colony on the main display, then back to Elena. "How quickly can you deploy these alternative approaches?" Elena allowed herself a small smile. "The first shipments are already being loaded, Ambassador. Humanity has been preparing for war since before we left our caves." The Ta Seti outpost commander, a tall, golden-scaled being named Sorix, made no effort to hide his skepticism as the human transport vessels unloaded their cargo. His 4 eyes blinked in vertical sequence, a gesture Elena had learned indicated profound disbelief. "These are the weapons that will save us from the Drakkar?" he asked, mandibles clicking softly as he gestured toward the metal crates being offloaded. "They appear to be museum pieces." Elena nodded to Sergeant Martinez, who prized open the nearest crate to reveal rows of modified Barrett XM500 sniper rifles. Each weapon gleamed with well-maintained precision, despite designs dating back to the early 21st century. "Metal projectile weapons. Combustible propellants." Kiblrix chittered. "These belong in a historical archive, Commander Reyes." Elena lifted one of the rifles with practiced ease, checking its mechanism with efficient movements. "The Drakkar have never faced weapons like these. Their shields are calibrated for energy dissipation, not kinetic impacts." Bexorix remained unconvinced until Elena suggested a practical demonstration. 20 minutes later, they stood in the outpost's defensive testing range. A captured piece of Drakkar hull armor was mounted at the far end, the same material that had shrugged off the Assembly's most advanced energy weapons. Elena shouldered the rifle, breathed calmly, and squeezed the trigger. The crack of the shot echoed across the facility, causing several alien technicians to flinch in alarm. Where the bullet struck, the Drakkar armor showed a perfect hole, its edges peeled back like flower petals. Complete silence fell across the gathered Assembly officers. "Impossible," Sorix whispered. "Our most powerful phase cannons barely scorch that alloy." "Different problem, different solution," Elena replied simply, handing the rifle to an eager alien officer who fumbled with its unfamiliar weight. "We've brought enough for every outpost on the front line, along with human advisors to train your troops." Within days, human military advisors deployed across Assembly territory with their primitive arsenals. From the vaults beneath Antarctica came weapons spanning centuries of human ingenuity. Railguns that required no ammunition, just conductive projectiles. Shotguns loaded with specially designed flechettes. Even modified crossbows for stealth operations behind enemy lines. The Drakkar, encountering solid projectiles and chemical explosives for the first time, suffered catastrophic losses in their next advance. Their ships, designed to withstand directed energy barrages, had no meaningful armor against tungsten core penetrators. Their personal shields, calibrated to disperse plasma weapons, provided zero protection against fragments from claymore mines placed along their invasion routes. On the third day of deployment, Elena received the first battlefield report from a forward operating base. Drakkar retreat confirmed. Enemy losses estimated at 70%. Assembly casualties minimal. Human weapon systems performing beyond expectations. She forwarded the report to Ambassador Krell with a simple note. The Drakkar learned today that humanity's approach to warfare hasn't evolved because it works. In the Assembly Emergency Command Center, Elena watched tactical displays showed Drakkar forces withdrawing from 3 star systems simultaneously. Beside her, General Vriz studied footage of a human-trained assembly squad using guerrilla tactics to ambush a Drakkar patrol. "Your species fights differently," he observed. "We attack in formation with standardized approaches. You adapt." Elena nodded. The assembly builds perfect weapons for anticipated scenarios. Humans build diverse weapons for unpredictable ones. She opened a secure channel to Director Zhang. "The first phase is working. Prepare Vault 2 for deployment. We're going to need the experimental systems if the Drakkar adapt." As she closed the transmission, Elena noticed several assembly officers watching her with a new emotion in their alien expressions. Respect. Elena stood before a class of 30 alien military commanders in the hastily established Tactical Academy on Centauri base. Behind her, holographic displays showed animations of ancient human battles. The classroom had been modified to accommodate various physiologies, from the insectoid Vriz species to the tentacled Morigi delegates. Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte. Elena gestured to the figures on screen. These commanders understood asymmetric advantages millennia ago, long before humanity developed energy weapons or space travel. The alien officers, all high-ranking in their respective forces, took notes with attentive focus. 6 weeks of successful defensive operations had transformed their initial skepticism into eager study. Alexander's victory at Gaugamela, Elena continued, highlighting the ancient battlefield. Outnumbered more than 5 to 1, yet he created a deliberate weak point in his lines to draw the enemy in, then collapsed their flanks with hidden cavalry. The same principle we applied at Epsilon Eridani last week. A golden-scaled officer raised a clawed appendage. "Your species has fought itself for thousands of years," he observed. "You've had more combat experience against thinking opponents than all assembly races combined." Elena nodded. "Our greatest strength isn't our technology, but our extensive library of strategies developed against ourselves. The assembly standardized military doctrine because you rarely faced true peer adversaries. Humans never had that luxury. In training facilities across 3 star systems, human advisors established academies teaching Earth's strategic doctrines. Concepts alien to the assembly's straightforward approach, envelopment, feigned retreats, psychological warfare, asymmetric response, became central to the new defensive doctrine. On the primary tactical display, Elena highlighted the Drakkar advance, now stalled against forces using unpredictable human tactics. They expected your standard response and planned accordingly. Now they face something they've never encountered, an enemy that changes approaches mid-battle. The Drakkar have begun adapting, General Vriz noted, manipulating the display to show recent encounters. Their newest vessels show primitive armor plating against kinetic weapons. Elena smiled. which is exactly why humanity preserved every approach to warfare rather than abandoning older methods when newer ones emerged. Director Zhang. The wall screen activated, showing Zhang standing in a cavernous section of the Antarctic complex Elena had not revealed during Vriz's earlier tour. Behind her stood rows of experimental weapons developed during Earth's Cold War that had never seen deployment. Vault 2 inventory is complete, Zhang reported. The acoustic disruptors are ready for deployment, along with the EMP generation systems and gravity manipulation prototypes, all untested in actual combat conditions, but functional in simulation. The alien commanders exchanged glances. "You developed gravity manipulation decades ago," one asked incredulously. "We developed many technologies without fully implementing them," Elena explained. "Sometimes because they were too dangerous, sometimes because superior alternatives emerged, sometimes because we wanted insurance policies against unforeseen threats." She activated her secure terminal, entering authorization codes. "Deploy the first wave of Vault 2 assets to forward bases. Begin integration with assembly carriers immediately." As the commanders filed out to prepare their forces, General Vriz remained behind. "We intercepted Drakkar communications," he said quietly. "They've identified Earth as the source of these new tactics and technologies. Their strategic council has reprioritized targets." Elena nodded, unsurprised. "They're coming for Earth. Your homeworld has minimal orbital defenses compared to core assembly worlds," Vriz noted with concern. Elena's expression remained calm. "The Drakkar still haven't grasped the fundamental lesson, General. Humans don't rely on standardized defenses. We prepare for the worst by hiding our best." She opened a classified file on her terminal, showing Vriz schematics of weapons systems positioned throughout Earth's solar system. Systems the Assembly had never detected despite their advanced scanning technology. "Let them come to Earth," Elena said softly. "They think they're hunting prey. They don't realize they're charging into the most sophisticated trap humanity has ever laid." The Drakkar Armada darkened Earth's orbit like a mechanical eclipse, their warships positioned in attack formation above major population centers. Assembly officials had predicted humanity's homeworld would fall within days, evacuating their diplomatic personnel while offering apologetic platitudes about sending reinforcements that everyone knew would arrive too late. Ambassador Krell had chosen to remain, standing beside Elena in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. His blue skin had paled with stress as he watched the Drakkar fleet's approach on the tactical displays. "I've never seen such a concentration of their forces," he whispered. "They'd withdrawn from 3 sectors to amass this attack group." Elena nodded calmly. "Exactly as we anticipated. Director Zhang, status report." Zhang's voice came through with perfect clarity despite the Drakkar's attempts to jam communications. "All systems operational. Orbital mines armed and cloaked. Submarine missile platforms at launch depth. Atmospheric fighters fueled and positioned. Ground defenses activated." The first wave of Drakkar landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere, targeting military installations and government centers. Their energy weapons charged, ready to obliterate the primitive defenses they expected to encounter. Instead, the Drakkar fleet encountered humanity's full unleashed potential. Orbital mines using mechanical triggering mechanisms immune to energy sweeps detonated in silent flashes, ripping through the first wave of vessels. Submarines launched ballistic missiles from unexpected vectors, their guidance systems using Earth's magnetic field rather than easily jammed digital signals. In the skies, swarms of small, manually piloted aircraft overwhelmed the Drakkar's automated targeting systems, which had been designed to track larger, energy-signature heavy vessels. Human pilots executed maneuvers no algorithm could predict. Striking with weapons, the Drakkar shields had no protocols to repel. "Impossible," Krell muttered as the displays showed Drakkar ships falling from the sky. "Their technology surpasses yours by centuries." "Technology isn't everything," Elena replied. "The Drakkar expected us to fight like the Assembly, with standardized approaches and predictable tactics. Instead, they're facing every warfare doctrine humans have developed over thousands of years, all at once." When the Drakkar deployed biological agents against North American population centers, Elena authorized Vault 3, revealing engineered countermeasures and medical technologies even the Assembly found revolutionary. Specialized nanites designed during the Cold War neutralized the alien pathogens within hours. "You had vaccines ready for bioweapons you'd never encountered?" Krell asked incredulously. "Not vaccines," Joan clarified from her station. "Adaptive response systems designed to counter any biological threat, familiar or novel. Another insurance policy." The command center erupted in cheers as the Drakkar flagship crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. The massive vessel had encountered something the Assembly had considered impossible: a computer virus transmitted through modulated radar pulses that overwhelmed systems designed to resist quantum intrusion. "How?" Krell demanded. "Their computational architecture isn't compatible with Earth programming languages." Elena smiled grimly. "We didn't attack their computers. We used sound frequencies to vibrate their physical components until they failed. Sometimes the oldest approaches worked best against the newest technologies." As the battle turned decisively in Earth's favor, Elena activated a secure channel to all human forces. Phase 3 authorized. Deploy Vault 4 assets. Across Earth's surface and throughout the solar system, weapons emerged from hidden installations. Technologies humanity had developed, but deemed too dangerous to use against itself. Energy projectors constructed in secret lunar facilities. Gravitational disruptors hidden beneath ocean floors. Atmospheric manipulation systems concealed in mountain ranges. Ambassador Krell watched in awe as Earth's primitive species systematically dismantled the most feared armada in known space. "All this time," he whispered, "we thought we were protecting you." Elena's expression remained focused on the tactical displays. Sometimes the best defense is letting others underestimate you, until the moment they can't afford to. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, Commander Elena Reyes stood on the stage of the newly constructed Terram Strategic Institute in Geneva. Sunlight streamed through the vaulted windows, illuminating the assembled dignitaries from 17 species. The auditorium had been designed to accommodate every physiological need, from the methane-breathing Vulturi to the crystalline Ixtheri. "Today marks not just the opening of this facility," Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation fields, "but the beginning of a new approach to galactic security." From her vantage point, she could see Ambassador Krell, now serving as the Assembly's diplomatic liaison to Earth, watching respectfully from the front row. The blue-skinned alien who had once patted her on the head now stood when she entered the room. The Drakkar threat revealed fundamental weaknesses in standardized military doctrine. Elena continued, "This institute will ensure those weaknesses are never exploited again." Behind her, holographic displays showed the first class of alien cadets already training alongside human instructors. Assembly officers practiced with traditional Earth weapons while studying tactical manuals spanning thousands of years of human conflict. After the ceremony, Elena toured the facility with Krell and General Vriz, now promoted to Supreme Defense Coordinator for the entire Assembly. "Your species preserved everything," Krell remarked as they observed adapted human weapons systems being manufactured for assembly defense forces. "Even the weapons too horrible to use." Elena nodded. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, but our memory. We remember every mistake, every victory, every approach." They passed training rooms where alien officers studied formations developed during Earth's Battle of Britain, squad tactics from Vietnam, and urban combat techniques from a dozen human conflicts. The Drakkar thought they were facing primitives, Krell observed, watching an insectoid officer practicing with an adapted compound bow. They never understood they were facing history's most experienced warriors. In the Central Library, alien scholars pored over translated copies of Sun Tzu's Art of War and Clausewitz's On War with reverent attention. The Assembly's greatest mistake was thinking newer always means better, Vriz noted, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Sometimes the old ways work because they've been tested by time. Elena led them through a security checkpoint into a previously unshown section, a vault containing specimens of every weapon humanity had ever developed, from stone axes to antimatter bombs. "This archive will ensure that knowledge is preserved," she explained, "while this institute will ensure that knowledge is understood within its proper ethical context." Director Zhang appeared on a nearby screen, reporting from Antarctica. "Vault 5 inventory is complete, Commander. The diplomatic team is ready whenever you authorize disclosure." Elena nodded. "Prepare the presentation for next month's Assembly Council meeting." After the others departed, Elena stood alone in her office overlooking Lake Geneva. On her desk sat two objects: the ceremonial sidearm she had worn when aliens first arrived and patted her on the head, and a simple stone blade, humanity's first purpose-built weapon from nearly 2 million years ago. She picked up the stone tool, feeling its ancient edge still sharp enough to cut. Humanity's journey from simple predator to galactic defender was written in such tools, in the weapons they created, the wars they fought, and most importantly, the knowledge they preserved. Outside her window, a class of mixed human and alien cadets jogged past in formation, their voices raised in a cadence as old as organized warfare itself. In the harbour beyond, assembly ships performed training maneuvers alongside human vessels, their crews learning from each other's strengths. The assembly had sought to protect a primitive species and found instead their most valuable teacher. The galaxy would never again mistake technological advancement for true preparedness, nor would anyone underestimate humanity's unique approach to survival. Elena smiled as she replaced the stone blade in its display case. The vault of weapons had saved humanity, but their true strength had always been the vault of knowledge behind each one, the accumulated wisdom of a species that had survived every challenge by remembering its past while facing its future.